the premier sports talk radio, it's Tony's Takes.
Here we go.
Welcome back to another great episode of Tony's Takes, live right here on YouTube for the best show in sports talk radio. It is Tony's Takes, and of course, I am not alone in the studio today. Sitting next to me is my co-host, Jimmy D. Jim Jam, how are you?
Doing good, Tony. It's been a long time.
Very long time. I don't think we're going to have many people piling in today because it's a slow news day. This is definitely one of those episodes where you get a little bit more traction on the podcast, Jim. But with that said, we have a lot of interesting topics to cover on today's episode of Tony's Takes, which I'm very excited to talk about because I did release an episode podcast by myself a few weeks ago, and that was after the Sixers loss. But I want Jim to come in here and give us his opinions because my opinions are not good enough when it comes to bringing in all of what needs to be said about the 76ers, the flip-flop organization, who now, Jim, I don't know if you saw this, they have a new CEO. They got rid of Scott O'Neil, and now they have a new CEO, so maybe that brings new things to the organization. Maybe that brings a new perspective to management, but for now, we're going to just have to wait and see. And also, there's news of Ben Simmons reportedly being on the chopping block for a trade, which, Jim, I know you're going to get to in your monologue. On top of the 76ers, we're going to be talking about the NBA Finals. We're also going to be talking about the return of Jordan Hall. Yes, Jim, you weren't here for this, and I don't know if I texted you about it.
Oh, you did.
Oh, I did. Good. Excellent. Jordan Hall is returning to St. Joseph's University. John Rothstein has the Hawks at 8th in his preseason rankings for the Atlantic 10 Conference. That is excellent news, given the fact that the Hawks were like 11th last year. So 8th would be a great step forward. Maybe even they'll be higher. Who knows? We all have to just wait and see, I guess, to see the final output of what this team can do. But the return of Jordan Hall is so important to St. Joe's. We're going to get into that. We're going to talk about that and what it means for the fans of Hawk Hill. Then we're going to talk about the Phillies midseason surge. I have an interesting take for you, Jim, on the Phillies, but we'll wait till that comes around in the show and I'll bring it up to you. I have a feeling you're not going to like it, but I'm still going to bring it up anyway.
Oh, I welcome the negative takes, Tony.
We're going to talk, even though I'm the one who's supposed to be positive about the Phillies. We're also going to talk about the Home Run Derby. We're going to talk about the All Star Game. So Home Run Derby and All Star Game. And then we're going to close out with a little Formula One. Jim, I know you're not the biggest Formula One fan, but I've got some interesting things to talk about. And I'm going to urge our listeners to listen. Well, they always listen to me, but to watch Formula One this weekend. I promise you it will be very good. Okay, with all of that said, Jim, I am going to pass the microphone over to you for you to give your Sixers season end recap for the fans of Tony's Takes. But before I do that, real quick, if you're listening to the show, make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Twitter at Tonys_Takes, and listen to the show on Apple Podcasts. Give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, and I will guarantee you that the review gets read here on the show. So without further ado, here is Jimmy D with his Sixers take.
So, Tony, we haven't really been on the air together for probably 3 to 4 weeks now, and
it's been a slow news cycle.
And in that time, the Sixers lost the playoffs to the Hawks in Game 7 at home. So I really, I left the Sixers season with a feeling of a missed opportunity. We had the Hawks, the 5 seed in the Eastern Conference, and it just left me with this immediate notion that this team is simply not ready to win a championship. When will they be ready? Well, the players are going to have to be good enough to overcome a coach that makes errors. Like, while Doc was an improvement from Brett Brown, he made plenty of mistakes. Letting the bench players throw away a giant lead in Game 5 against the Hawks, losing Game 7 in Philadelphia in front of our own fans, not using Dwight Howard in an effective way just kind of going out there and just hitting people most of the time. But he's not the only one to blame. We thought the addition of George Hill was going to be impactful in the playoffs. We thought Joel Embiid was going to be able to play the same way he did during the regular season. Yeah, Joel Embiid had a torn meniscus, but you tell me if it looked like he was unhealthy playing out there, because he looked pretty healthy to me. It looked like during the playoffs, he turned back into the 2018 Joel that wouldn't get down in the paint because he would turn it over in the fourth quarter. So he started chucking up threes. Ben Simmons reverted back to being less aggressive than he was a series before against the Wizards. Completely different player from one series to the next. After game 1 against the Hawks, I thought the Sixers would recoil from the punch in the mouth. They'd win 4 straight. We wouldn't lose a game at home. I never thought that after game 1. I thought we would just shut it down after that. We were much better of a team than the product on the court during that second series against the Hawks. The playoffs were set up in our favor with being the 1 seed and the other teams having injury issues, even on the Western Conference. I thought the environment was lined up for us, but this team is simply not talented enough to win an NBA championship. While I agree, Ben looked like a fool in Game 7, it's not his fault that the Hawks beat the Sixers. The whole team, minus Seth Curry, who played like an all-star, let us down. I turned to Morey during this time. With the new CEO hire, which we just talked about, he had a 13-year connection at the Rockets with Morey. I foresee a lot of moves. Maybe we move on from Ben Simmons. It would be very Philadelphia of us, though, to keep him, even when all the fans want him gone. Even when it seems like he doesn't fit, it does seem like a very Philadelphia 76ers thing to end up keeping him and not moving on from him. Because maybe they don't get what they want in return. Who knows? With that, I ask you, Tony, who can the Sixers bring in to help this team? And are guys like Maxey and Thibault on the trading block? And who is on the trading block if they're not?
So I want to say this. Did you see Matisse get that deflection against Team USA in the FIBA basketball? So
no,
they were playing.
I missed that.
They were getting ready for. And this kind of ties into my answer, though. I'm not just bringing this up randomly and ignoring your question, Jim, because I think it's an important question. Matisse Thybulle is playing against the United States because he's from Australia, and he swats the ball on the final shot. I think it was Damian Lillard taking it or something like. Either Damian Lillard was taking it or Kevin Durant, but he tipped it away, and Australia won. And now everyone's freaking out about Popovich and him coaching and these teams imploding for FIBA basketball and getting ready for the Olympics that are coming up in August. Which me and Jim, we might become an Olympic show. We're gonna have to talk about running.
Oh man, I can't wait.
Jim's gonna love that. I'm complaining about slow news cycle. Get the track out here. Jim will talk about that for about 2. We'll turn this into a 3-hour show. But to answer your question,
no commercials either.
No commercials. To answer your question, Jim, I agree. Where are these players going to come from? It is a valuable and reasonable question. I'm going to give you the old media runaround. I'm going to give you a lot of platitudes and say, good question, very valuable. I'll circle back with you. No, I'm not going to circle back. I'm going to tell you the truth. I don't know if you can trade Ben Simmons. I was listening to part of the interruption with, Tony Kornheiser wasn't on the show that day, but it was Frank Isola, formerly of the New York Post, now of ESPN, and Michael Wilbon. Both of them pretty connected guys in regards to the NBA. And both of them were saying how the Sixers won't get a top 5 player for Ben Simmons, but they're going to get a top, 20 player. And when I heard that, I thought, Ben Simmons is maybe the 19th best player in the NBA. And we only had one opportunity to get a top 5 player, and that was James Harden. And that was because he was disgruntled, right? It wasn't because he was playing great and they were going to trade him. It was because this guy wouldn't show up to practice, and a top 5 player with top 5, capabilities, MVP, is now on the same trading range as Ben Simmons, who's maybe a top 20 player. And in regards to the playoffs, I don't even know if he's shown that he's a top 20 player. I think we could sit here, you and me, and go through a list of 20 guys I'd rather have. I'll do it right now, off the top of my head. LeBron James, Kevin Durant. I'd rather have Joel Embiid. I'd rather have the classic top, Giannis, James Harden, Damian Lillard, Chris Paul. I'd rather have, I don't even need to name the Jokic.
Steph Curry. Klay Thompson's better than him. You say Kawhi.
Kawhi is better than him. I mean, I can keep going, and I'm going to. I've paused. Anthony Davis,
Luka Doncic.
Luka Doncic is better. Jimmy Butler's a better player than Ben Simmons. He is.
Would you even say Zion?
No, I would not say Zion.
Really?
No, I haven't seen enough. Zion's
Paul George
been injured. Paul George is a better player. We're at 15 right now, Jim. We only have 5 more to go.
Jimmy Butler.
I already said Jimmy. I counted Jimmy
Kyrie
Butler.
Irving.
Yes, you have to take Kyrie. He's a better scorer, and scoring is more valuable in the NBA than defense is important. I'm not saying Ben Simmons is a top defender, but in the playoffs, he's shown that it doesn't help you as much as a good offensive player would help you.
Bradley Beal.
Yeah, Bradley. If you're going to take it into that range, yeah, Bradley Beal's a better player. Donovan Mitchell's a better player. I mean, we're up to the point where Trae Young is a better player. He is. I have to say he is. He beat the Sixers all on his own. And then who's the guy from Memphis?
Karl Anthony Towns?
No, that's Minnesota.
Oh, Minnesota. Sorry.
I'm thinking Memphis. The point guard.
Ja Morant.
Ja Morant is showing that he's almost better. Sorry to the viewers, I was blanking on my my names. All this to say, is Ben Simmons even a top 20 player, folks? So Jim, I agree. Who are we going to get? I think, and my answer to your question is, we have to wait until there's a disgruntled player. I think that's the only way for us to get value back for him. And if you don't, maybe you trade for young. Devin Booker's better than Ben Simmons.
I've wanted Booker here for the last.
You're not going to get him.
Years,
no, you're not getting him.
But what about Dame?
I don't know. Maybe we get. I don't think they're going to get rid of him. Ben Golliver, who was on the show a couple years ago, always has said he's originally a Portland guy. Now he writes for the Washington Post. He originally started out on with the Liberty Ballers, but for the Portland the Trailblazers have their own Liberty. I think it's SB Nation or whatever.
Okay.
But Ben Golliver had said they'll never trade Damian Lillard. He is too beloved in the franchise, and he likes the franchise too much. Now, that could change. He might not like the franchise, but I think the franchise likes him too much. And there's been some turmoil in Portland, but I still don't think it's tumultuous. I butchered that word. But I don't think it's turbulent enough for the organization to justify getting rid of Damian Lillard. So I think we're in the range of Bradley Beal is disgruntled. Maybe we can make a trade.
I would love him. I would love to have Bradley Beal.
It would be perfect. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but you never know. If you look at the Warriors, you go to the Warriors and say, we'll take an injured Klay Thompson. I don't think they'd ever trade him.
Let's get the Curry brothers together.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck. We're talking about how Damian Lillard's untradeable to an organization. Steph is he is the untradeable player.
He is the Warrior.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of other. It's so difficult. Even Kyle Lowry's too old now.
Yeah, this year would have been the
year to trade.
Yep.
And I have 2 more years of good Kyle Lowry. But even now, it's I only have a year.
Yeah.
Not worth it. And you got to remember that Ben Simmons. You got to think about his contract as well. So we can't look at Ben Simmons and go, oh, he was going to be a guy we had for 12 years. I'm going to view it in the framework of this was a player we have for 3 more years. If I make a trade for a player who's going to be good for 2 more years versus having Ben who might walk after the next contract, then I do it.
I'll take Fred VanVleet. I would take him for Ben.
And here's my thing. And I have this take with the Phillies. At some point, maybe you do have to rebuild again. Maybe you do have to trade Joel. I don't like saying that. But if we have no bench because we messed everything up with the process, right, Jim? I wrote this out and I said this on my last episode. But think about it: bad drafting. It all comes down to management, poor drafting, poor coaching, poor player development, the Burnergate incident, getting rid of our original GM, and then having the Burnergate incident, poor trades, the inability to fulfill the process correctly. What is the correct process? You might be asking. Well, it was supposed to be tank for draft picks, draft good players, pretty simple equation. But we drafted so poorly by picking guys off their measurements. Oh, we need another center. We need another center. We need another center. This guy has the most, quote, upside. Instead of going after the guy who is just the best player and fits the need.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Let's look at the Zaire Smith trade. Right.
Horrible,
that was upside over a guy in Bridges that swing player, plays great defense, Villanova guys pan out, just go with them, you know? And
we had him. That's the thing. We had him.
Right.
And we traded him away.
And we tried to be big brain on that move. But I continue. So we draft poorly. We can name all the bad draft picks and only name 2 good draft picks. Seriously. And then, I mean, Dario was a good draft pick, but he's not on our team anymore. Why? Because we did poor trading. We had a false sense, and so we got the poor drafting. And so then we tricked ourselves into saying, well, the whole point of the process was to find one star, and then we were going to attract another star to come play with him, aka LeBron James, or i.e. LeBron James. So we didn't hit on any of our draft picks, but we have Joel Embiid, and that's enough to bring LeBron James here. Is number 23 playing for us?
Nope.
Okay. So then that was like the fake goal of the process. So we were supposed to do it one way, then we came up with this fake goal of bringing LeBron James here, and then he never came, and all of a sudden we're stuck 4th in the East. So we've moved up from perpetual 8 seed to perpetual 4 seed. How do we do it? We tanked for 8 years, got one good player, and he's been able to carry us to the 4th best position in the East year after year because we don't have any bench. We've traded away any reasonable asset for players who didn't stay here anyway. And when we did trade for players, they didn't fit properly to begin with. We signed guys who destroyed our cap. It's just a mess, and it's all management. It's all management.
Well, this is where I see the upside, though, Tony, is because Maury's here. They just got a new CEO in Tad Brown. So you have it's unison coming from the top down to the now the players, because Maury has control over the players, and he's going to spread the message basically. So I think that now you get the front office that's in unison with the actual players, the actual team. It's going to go up from here. I honestly believe that. I think that we're going to draft well from now on. We're actually going to draft what we need rather than what we think is the best player at that draft spot. So I do think that there's an upside here. I don't know if we really need to start from ground zero. I think we need to start from maybe the 2nd or 3rd floor.
How high is this building?
I don't know. Let's just say it's 8 stories, 10 stories. You know, we're not too low here.
I'm going to go to the chat, Jim, if you don't mind, because I've neglected our chatters in the chat. And if you're listening to us and you want to bring in your takes, feel free to type them in and I will read them out loud. Steven Daniels goes, "What's this show I stumbled upon?" Well, it's Tony's Takes. Wig Splitter goes, "Wig Splitter is listening live from Giant Fitness. Zion at least shoots the ball." Wig Splitter's got a point. Giant Fitness is a great place to be. Not sponsored, though. And Zion shoots the ball. Sorry. It's almost like I was more worried about Wig Splitter's fitness, his fitness levels.
That's where your priorities lie.
I know. I need to make sure he's healthy, happy, and strong.
Of course.
As one of the constituents of Tony's Takes. Jim, you want to talk about the Danny Green? I think we've covered the issue with the process, and I get what you're saying. There's a little upside, yes, but I just find we've squandered all, like, you had all these little assets, and we've just squandered it, and we're looking around and like we have nothing, and the only glimmer of hope is new management. Daryl Morey's here, and the last couple of draft picks have been good.
Yeah, Maxi's great. Thybulle's good.
Shake Milton is a decent player. It's just when those guys are we're looking around. It's like Shake Milton better pick it up for this playoff game. It's like, well, do you understand what you're saying?
Yeah.
Well, you want a guy like George Hill. You want 3 guys that are George Hill. I mean, George Hill's not good. He's not. But when we brought him in, we thought he was this certain type of player. You need 3 of those certain. You need 3 of those certain type of guys that are like they're gonna play crazy good off the bench.
Yeah.
And then we'll be all like. Matisse will do his thing, Shake will do his thing, and Maxey will do his thing, and that will round us out. We'll have a 6-man rotation off the bench that really smooths everything over, because the starting lineup was fine, in my opinion.
Yeah, I
don't think there was any issues.
Right.
It's the poor bench play, and then it's the Ben Simmons issue. I mean, the starting lineup has an issue. Its name is Ben Simmons, but everyone else is fine. Literally everyone else is okay. So.
And then when Danny Green went down, that totally
hurt
showed.
them. Yeah.
It showed all their issues, because then. What do we have? Furkan Korkmaz starting some games,
right? He's okay, but he can't start. He's like another one of those players. It's like you have these 4 guys who are younger, and some of them are going to be hot some nights. You throw them in, and you hope for the best.
Yeah.
But they can't be relied upon because they're just not established. They have to learn a lot. And the Danny Green thing, it was just like one less shooter to bail out Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
That was really another issue.
So if Ben's not here, then you see maybe Maxey could be a starter next year. He might get pushed into that role.
He gets to the rim. He gets to the rim better than Ben Simmons does. He finishes layups better than Ben Simmons
and Ben's
does.
supposed to be the guy that can attack.
And Maxey pops. He literally, he has so much spunk in his step. I love watching him play.
Yeah. Do you want me to hit on this Danny Green thing?
Yeah, hit on the Danny Green thing.
I don't know if anybody saw this, but Danny Green basically, he was on a podcast with John Clark
of NBC Sports.
Correct, yeah. And essentially, and I'm paraphrasing here, obviously, but essentially what he said was that Philadelphia fans need to back off of guys like Ben Simmons and not boo so much when we're the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. And I just think that it's coming from a guy that has a whole bunch of rings, and he doesn't know what the city's necessarily been through. He's been here for a year, and he hasn't seen what we've seen with Ben Simmons over the last 4 years. So I just think that it was totally out of touch with reality, and he doesn't understand what we've been through, the experiences that we've been through, and I just think it was a little out of touch.
Are you accusing him of questioning your lived experience, Jim?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are journeymen. They don't get it. They don't have the same investment, and they know Ben on a personal level, and he's probably a great guy to be around or whatever platitudes you want to say. But he's going to protect his friend. I don't doubt that they're friends, but it's just different. When you're a fan, it's different. It's out of our control, and when they lose, it's just like, you're watching a car. It's like watching a car crash you have no control over.
And I understand his point. I really do understand his point. But this is a different city. It's always been a different city, and it's not going to change anytime.
And you got to know that coming here.
There are rude fans here, but there's really great fans here too. And the boos don't necessarily come as a negative thing. It's just our way of saying you guys got to pick it up.
It's our way of saying we love you.
You guys got to pick it up because we know you're better than that. That's the main thing.
Right. Yeah, I agree. So let's go to two teams that aren't getting the boos from their home teams or home squads or hometowns, and that's Phoenix and Milwaukee, who have turned this tonight. Tonight's the game. I know, I put it in the thing. Preview tonight's game, Phoenix and Milwaukee. That was in the headline for our YouTube show. And I just want to read Steven Daniels' comment real quick. So JT is the only Philly to hit a home run in the All Star Game since Mike Schmidt. Interesting fact. We're going to talk Phillies second half of the show, so stick around, Steven. But Phoenix and Milwaukee, 2-0 lead for Phoenix. Milwaukee and Giannis has an absolute monster game. And now tonight, Jim, I think tonight is the deciding game between these two. Does the road team steal a game in Milwaukee? Or do the Milwaukee Bucks defend the home court and it keeps going back and forth until someone steals that road game?
Yeah, and I'm undecided at this moment about who's going to do it. I really don't know who's going to win this game tonight. I'm really excited to see what the outcome is because I do think if Phoenix wins, I think is going to go 5. I think Phoenix is just going to win the next game after that.
Yes.
Milwaukee wins, I think it might go 7.
Yes.
I don't think that there's a game I don't think it's ending at 6, no matter what. It's either 5 or 7 in my eyes.
So I don't have too much to preview around this game. I think we're just going to pick winners for tonight because we're still talking NBA. Unless you have anything deep you need to say about this matchup. But
I just think Giannis is literally. We thought Ben Simmons was going to be the Giannis type player. Giannis isn't afraid to shoot, even though he's horrible at it. And I just think, man, that's where we could be if Ben Simmons was what we thought he was going to be.
Yeah, and Giannis, for some portion of the games, was shooting too much.
Yeah.
And now he's the last game, shot a perfect amount. Shot exactly when he needed to. Drew Holiday showing up, defending Devin Booker and Chris Paul. I'm going to go for, at least, I'm not going to predict the series, but for tonight, I'm going to predict that Milwaukee wins. Giannis screaming at his teammates on the sideline, demanding excellence, dominating the paint. They had the sub Eaton out last game. They couldn't keep him in with Giannis. And yeah, the two guards are good, but when Giannis can get easy dunks and layups, that's nice to have. So I'm going to go with Milwaukee. I think Drew Holiday shows up as well. And Chris Middleton has played fine at home. So
you're going to make me decide, huh, Tony?
Just for tonight's game.
All right, well, And if you're gonna take Milwaukee, then I'm just gonna go with Phoenix because
Okay.
I've liked Phoenix this whole season. I thought that they've been a really, really good team, and you know what? Let's see if they can take one in Milwaukee. I think that's gonna be good. I'll take Phoenix.
Okay, he takes Phoenix. He takes Phoenix. Look, at the end of the day for me, at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, when how many more sayings could you do? I'm okay with Phoenix winning. I'm not tied to any one of these teams. In fact, I'm just glad that they're not the same culprits we're always finding in the finals.
Sure, and look at the example they're setting. They haven't made the playoffs in 10 years, and they're
In the finals.
leading.
They just go right to the finals.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Also, one last thing on the NBA Finals. These games, you've talked about this before. These games are way too late.
They are.
9
They are
o'clock.
very late.
Last time I checked, people on the East Coast like basketball too.
Yeah, it doesn't help that Milwaukee's a Midwest city, like in the Midwest time zone.
I find it very unfair. I'm not going to stay up till 11:30 or 12 o'clock watching
I'm sure if
basketball.
it was the New York Knicks, the game would be at 8.
Sure. Yeah.
They would make sure that the game's at, what is it, at 9 tonight?
9 o'clock, yeah. And it won't start till 9:15 or 9:10.
I wonder, is Phoenix on Mountain Time technically? I would see maybe New Mexico is. No, not Central. It's either Mountain or West.
Oh, really? For Phoenix? Oh, no, Phoenix, yeah.
Yeah, for Phoenix.
Phoenix is west, I believe. I'm
Okay,
pretty
yeah.
sure, when I
Because
was out
New
there.
Mexico's then definitely Mountain Time because
Yeah.
you're south of Colorado. But I know Phoenix is more west, like towards California.
Phoenix
So.
doesn't do daylight savings either.
Oh, they don't?
No, they don't participate.
How does that work?
So
How does your car clock know?
when we switch or whatever, sometimes we're a 2-hour difference, and then other times we're a 3-hour difference. It's so weird.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
That's a little too rebellious for me from the lower 48.
I believe there's another state, too, that does that.
Well, we might have to rethink that over. I don't like that. Because maybe we could do a whole episode about daylight savings time. But it has value. And not about the farmers. It's just a thing the farmers used to do. Yeah, I got that. But I also like it because it's nice when it's like sunny out in spring. Like that's the benefit to daylight savings time. Is that the sun sets at 7 in April. And I actually can do things with my life after work. Because in November, it's like I work in my basement, and it's like I go downstairs when it's dark, and then I come upstairs and it's dark, and I'm like a cave dweller in the winter. So give me my daylight savings time because then it's dark at reasonable times in the spring.
I'd rather do the opposite of what Phoenix is doing, where they don't have daylight savings at all. I just want it all the time. Like, let me just have that late sun all the time.
Yeah.
I don't care how dark it is.
I'm
in the day.
honestly willing to change the timing of our days so that the sun rises at 10 o'clock in the morning, and that we get in the winter and we get the sun at 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Do you think we could really finagle that? It would be a 6-hour daylight savings time change.
Talk to your legislation.
Yeah, imagine that instead of going
Legislators.
right. So tonight it's going to hit 12, and then it's going to be 6 o'clock in the morning. You think we could pull that off, and then the sun rises at 10?
Maybe we could just start acting like it, like just in our daily lives. We'll just make everybody else feel crazy.
Yeah. Or sleep during the day and work at night. Yeah, you would go crazy doing that. I don't know how people in Sweden do it, where it's like darkness all day. But I'm willing to, when I run for office, Jim, 6-hour daylight savings time. So the sun rises at 10 in the winter and sets at 8 o'clock at night. So that way people can work at reasonable times. Jim, we're going to move to the Philadelphia Phillies because we're already at 7:34. The show is flying by. And I was going to talk about Jordan Hall and St. Joe's return, but since Stephen Daniels wanted to talk about the home run derby, since he wanted to talk about JT hitting a home run at the All Star Game that was in Colorado and not Georgia, and because the Phillies are on a hot streak, we're going to talk baseball. Now, Jim, let me preface this. I know that the Phillies are doing well. If there's anyone here that's a Phillies cheerleader, the rah-rah guy, the guy who's number one for the team, the guy who's always cheering them on, nothing can be wrong with them, it's me. Not you. It's me. You're down in the dumps. I am like, you take my views on the Sixers and apply it to the Phillies, and then I do the vice versa. I feel like you're very much more the Sixers rah-rah guy.
Yeah, definitely.
But I'm the Phillies rah-rah guy. And I'm going to propose something crazy, which you've probably seen in the script already. The team is playing very great. Fantastic. There is no better time to trade them away than right now.
Because the stock is high.
When are you going to trade Gene Segura?
I don't want to trade. I don't want to trade him.
What do you mean? He's the best. He's playing the best he's ever played. He's never going to play like this again. Get rid of him.
Whoa. He's been a 300 hitter for like 5 years.
Get rid of him.
What are you talking about?
Get rid of him. Jim, the team is still weak on depth. We have no prospects in the lowers. We don't bring anyone up. Trade these older guys now. Get rid of them. The team's not a championship winning team, so just hit the restart button. We can't just keep putting lipstick on this pig and saying it's okay. Oh, let's bring in Girardi. Oh, let's, bring up Spencer Howard. Oh, let's bring in McCutchen. Oh yeah, team's getting better. The team was never good. We've got Bryce Harper, and I don't even know how we got him to come here. We sold him a bill. We literally lied to him, I think. How did he come to Philadelphia? I don't get it. There were no prospects. There still aren't any prospects, and the only players who are decent are JT and Nola, and these other guys, this other crew is just playing well for once. Finally getting off their butts and playing well.
Well, I think they just got healthy, which actually makes me... I'm on the upside of things here. I think we just seem to always cross paths in a different direction. I see that these Phillies are just getting healthy. There's, Bryce got hit in the face, man. Like, we got to realize that it took a while for him to get back to like who he was, and now he's starting to hit the ball really well. And Gene is a very good player. Didi wasn't playing for a long time. Now he's back. I don't know.
I will say Didi was our best hitter last year. Yeah, gotta give him credit.
I see a lot of upside. I don't honestly. If you want to trade Rhys Hoskins, now we're talking, because I see that he gets on hot and cold streaks like no one else. But I feel like we could get a lot of value for him because he's so young, and maybe he could play really well somewhere else. Some other team might find a lot of value in him, and I'm looking to replace the center field position. I don't want to double there really. I think that we can get a better player to fill in the defensive gaps.
And then you put Bohm on first?
Yeah, you could put Bohm on first.
So you trade Hoskins for an outfielder, move Bohm over to first base, and then who you bringing on third?
Well, you could take Segura and put him at third or short, or put Didi at third or short. That's just like we talked about last year when we got Didi here. And then you could put Nick Maton at second base.
And you think that's going to be a winning formula?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, Segura is a good defensive player.
The bar is the defense of the team isn't that great either, and maybe that's because of the center field position.
Well, Bohm isn't really good at third base this year either, playing defense. Actually, he's been a struggle player of the year for sure.
Here's my thing: the bar is set so low for this team. It's literally just get into the playoffs.
Yeah, but I think that this team...
And they still can't do that.
I think that they're on their way to going into the playoffs.
What, as a wild card team?
I think they're in second right now, Tony.
They've been in second for a while.
Well, they went down to fourth for a while, and now they've climbed...
Well, the Braves are done. They're done.
Yeah.
I mean, with Acuna, with the tore his ACL. Feel so bad for the guy. He was a breakout player last year. Tears his ACL. He's done. Nationals, they're nobodies. It's literally, and the Marlins, I don't know, they took people off the street last year and won, and now they're terrible again. I don't get them. But, yeah, it's a two-horse race between the Mets and the Phillies, and you know how I feel about the Mets. Why are we still counting on percentage and not off of just pure wins? Not fair.
Well,
not okay.
Well, now we're only a one-game difference between the two teams.
They're making them up.
Yeah, so
okay, good.
We're 3.5 back, and they have a game to play on us. So I just think, man, we still have a whole half a season, and it's only 3.5 games. We could definitely win the NL East.
If we win the NL East, I'll expunge everything I said in today's episode.
We have to stay healthy. I'd like to get a center fielder here by the name of Kevin Kiermaier from Tampa Bay Rays, because I think they want to offload his contract personally.
Okay. The Rays are a stingy organization.
And I'd love to get Cole Hamels here because I know that that's been buzzing around a lot lately. You get those two pieces, and I really think that not only do we make a push for the playoffs, I think we win the first round.
You win the first round, now you really have the city's attention. Because the Phillies, I think, remember when the Phillies had the record for most sellout games, home games? The city eats it up. They like baseball.
Oh,
Philly is a baseball town. They will support the Phillies. People still go to the games. It's just, as I said, the bar is set so low. You just got to show that you're willing to win and get into the playoffs. And I just don't see it. And yeah, we're on a hot streak now, Jim, but how many times have we found ourselves in this situation and then come mid-August, we're like, uh-oh, we're about to slide. We can feel the slide happening. We're barely winning games, and we're rolling into September, and a bunch of division games are rolling up on us. It happens every year. It's happened for the last 3 years. It's not fun, and for some reason, it's a reoccurring experience for me.
I just think our big fielders, right? What are our big fielders? McCutchen, Harper, Segura, I put their Didi in there, and JT, and maybe Hoskins, right? If those 6 stay healthy, we got a shot. I really believe that. And if Hoskins doesn't go too bad of an ebb, we should be fine. And I want to see Bryce Harper in the playoffs for the Phillies because that's what we paid him the money for.
Yes.
Not for the regular season, but to put us over the top in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. He's the wow factor. There's no one else I'd rather put in the box than him.
Exactly. When the game is on the line, yeah, you trust him. So.
There's only a few. I get it. He's not the greatest consistency player, but there are very few people who I think can step up. Literally, no pun intended, step up to the plate when it matters most.
And I've seen the Mets struggle. This year early on. And I still think that they're an overrated team. I thought that they were overrated pick at the beginning of the season. So I really firmly believe the Phillies can do this. They're just 1 or 2 moves away. They just got to do it. Dave Dombrowski's he came here to make this a winning team. He's got to put up or shut up.
Yep. Jim, we're speaking about stepping up to the plate. How about the home run derby?
A lot of fun.
So how do you feel about, what's his name, Sotani?
Showtime. I thought he was more fun to watch than our friend Graham from Dorchester, where Graham would play wiffle ball. I think Shohei's much more talented.
Graham's not from Dorchester.
Dorchester, Massachusetts.
I thought he was from Milton.
No, I think that was his high school.
Oh.
I'm not sure. I thought he was from the same place as the Wahlbergs, Dorchester.
Wahlberger?
Yeah. He might be from Milton.
I'll have to ask him. I'm seeing him this weekend. I'll have to ask him.
Maybe he's listening in. He'll text in.
Maybe. The texting line's open for those who have the secret number. We're going to talk about Stephen A. Smith's comments, but Jim, I'll let you speak first.
I just thought it was a lot of fun. And I don't know, man. Like you put in the script here. Is he better at hitting or pitching? I don't know, man. I think he's equal. You
really think he's a true equal level?
He's going to be. Well, it seems like he's going to be an all-time player, not just a. Not
now,
just
is that good for baseball? Some would ask.
Oh,
so,
I don't know.
So Jim's mentioning great for baseball, but Stephen A. Smith says otherwise, and this got him in hot water. But I'm just going to read the quote directly. The fact that this is Stephen A. Smith, and he said this on First Take, quote, "The fact that you got a foreign player that doesn't speak English, believe it or not, I think contributes to harming the game to some degree. When that's your box office appeal, it needs to be somebody like Bryce Harper, Mike Trout, those guys. And unfortunately, at this point in time, that's not the case." I get where Stephen A. is coming from in the sense that, of course, it's easier to if you speak English to be a little have more bravado and everything, but baseball's thrived off of all the Spanish-speaking players.
Yeah.
Albert Pujols, doesn't he speak? Does he speak Spanish? I believe he
does. Yeah, he definitely.
Well, I know Sammy Sosa did.
Yeah, I mean, you've had many players, foreign players. I mean, 50% of the league is dominated by Hispanic players. So that's just nonsense. I like Stephen A. most of the time, but when you hear comments like that, you just gotta. I just put him away, and I don't.
Yeah, well, the guy speaks for 4 hours, 5 hours a day. He's trying to make a show. It happens.
I disagree with him completely. I think that Shohei is. I think a lot of.
I think it makes it more interesting that he's Japanese.
I think
more
a
people
lot
will
of
be interested.
young kids
Yeah.
really look up to this player and think that he's awesome to see because he can do both things, and it doesn't matter. It's something that transcends, the background or where you're from and everything. I think his play is what speaks.
Stephen A. should have looked up BTS Army and realized how big BTS Army is in the United States. And he realized that just because you don't speak English doesn't mean that you can't be a big star in the United States. That's for sure. I know Jimmy is a big BTS stan.
Big BTS stan. I might get surgery to become BTS.
That video was crazy. That video is absolutely wild. Okay, we're going to move on before we get into hot water. So you put in the script Pete Alonso winning. This is second year in a row, believe it. And I do know this because you said I'm seeing $2 million, 2.5 years with the Mets. He's made more money in home run derby winnings.
Yeah, isn't
which
that
is
crazy?
I heard that on ESPN. Unbelievable that that's the case.
That's what we need. We need players with the high production for low salary.
Well, that's where your development league comes in.
Yeah.
It's everything in baseball.
Well, we got it's the same thing with the Sixers. We had the wrong people in place for 5 to 6 years. It just this is the repercussions of it. We paid a lot of money to get stars here, but we have nothing to back them up when people get hurt.
Steven Daniels goes, don't forget about Wheeler. Of course, this is true. I think we were more talking about the bats and everything because offense has been mainly the issue for me for the Phillies.
Wheeler's great, and I think that he got I think that he got gypped in the All Star game.
He threw one out, didn't he?
He threw one out. He should have been the starter. It doesn't even make sense that Scherzer was the starter. He had more innings pitched, more strikeouts, and better ERA than Scherzer. It didn't make any sense. The reason why Scherzer got put in the
Scherzer's
start,
an all-timer.
They said, oh, he's an all-timer. But last time I checked, it's the 2021 All-Star game. Right?
This isn't the all-time All-Star game.
Yeah, it's not the 2010 to 2021. And I don't care about his previous record. I care about this year.
You care about his 2 different colored eyes.
Yeah, I don't... what is he, an Australian Shepherd? What is he? Got the one husky eye? Come on.
Steven Daniels goes, Stephen A. is a waste. Too many Stevens in the chat. You did mention, though, how Scherzer had to pitch to JT.
Oh, yeah, and the awkwardness behind that is, I don't know, it's unfathomable, really, because, that whole JT getting thrown at by Scherzer, and then JT staring him down, and then a couple weeks after that, then they do the whole sticky stuff, shakedown and all that.
Check the hat.
And he starts unbelting his pants and everything.
Yeah.
It just seemed like that was going to be so awkward.
Did JT call for the inspection?
No, I think that was Girardi.
Girardi
was being a little tic-tacky.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was going to be awkward between them. But I had my brother texting me. Wig Splitter was texting me.
Let's use his proper name.
Yeah. He was texting me and he was saying oh, I like the connection between the two. Maybe we should trade for Scherzer. I was like, wow, old man Scherzer. That would be one heck of a trade.
Yeah. I mean, maybe if it was 4 years ago, it'd be worth it. Even 2 years ago. But the JT, there was another thing I was going to say. Oh, how in the script you put awkward exclamation mark.
Yeah.
That's how I knew it was going to be awkward. Okay, Jim, if you don't mind, can I get to Jordan Hall?
Oh, yes, please.
As we're closing in on the last
That's big news.
10 to 15 minutes. So this was written per me at a10talk.com. I'm going to read the first paragraph real quick. And it goes like this. It was announced this afternoon. This was written a couple weeks ago. It was announced this afternoon that forward Jordan Hall will be returning to St. Joseph's University for the 2021-2022 season per John Rothstein. Hall had originally announced his decision to transfer from St. Joe's back on April 28th of this year. After his initial transfer announcement, Hall revealed that he would be going to Texas A&M to start his sophomore year. It was only a short time after this decision that he decided to enter his name into the NBA draft. However, that is all history now, as the 6'8" point, I think he's 6'7" technically, point forward intends to withdraw his name from the NBA draft and return to the place where he started his college career. In addition to his withdrawal from the NBA draft, Hall has also decided to backtrack on his decision to transfer to A&M and instead return to Hawk Hill. The return of Jordan Hall is a major turning point for St. Joe's University, which is in need of a cornerstone piece. Jordan Hall was SJU's main point guard for majority of the 2020-21 season, during which he averaged 5.7 assists, 10.6 points, and 5.9 rebounds. The departure of a player like Hall left St. Joe's fans wondering how the team would be able to compete this season, especially since St. Joe's would need to train up another freshman point guard in Eric Reynolds. However, with the return of Hall, that puts it all to rest. He will now occupy the backcourt with freshman Eric Reynolds. Coach Lang will now work with the duo to build one of the most dynamic backcourts in St. Joseph's history. Jim, I hate going back and rereading and I see like 2 sentences, which I'm like, I could have made those better.
I wouldn't think about it too much. But that is great news. And I can't believe the season, it feels like the season just ended like a week ago. You know?
Yeah, March was only 4 months ago.
Yeah, but
very long time.
And now like we're only the same distance away from watching the Hawks take the court again. You know, it's only a few months.
I'm going to, a little not breaking news, but I was talking to Sean P., former producer of the show, and we're working on getting Hawk Hill Hardwood on the show.
No way.
Yes.
All right.
Now, Jim, it's going to be a full locker room episode because both Tommy Higley and Sean P. want to be in the studio for it.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
The 4-man studio.
That'd be awesome. That'd be it's the round table.
The round table. And Hawk Hill Hardwood would be calling in. Sean P. went to a very exclusive donor golf outing for St. Joe's basketball. Got invited to go. Now, I don't know if Sean P. is a donor. I think he knows a donor. Who I don't know their name. But he was there, and Billy Lang was given the speech, the spiel. Hawk Hill Hardwood was there, and so Sean P. went up to both of them. And let's just say Billy Lang knows I'm on his radar. Because Sean P. was like, I know one of my friends writes for A10 Talk, and Billy Lang apparently said, I love that website. You make sure he asks me the hard questions, which is what I've wanted to do all along, because no one in basketball media, the NBA, in college, nowhere asks the hard questions anymore. They go, oh, how did that work for you? Now, why didn't you do this? No one makes positive arguments or positive statements about basketball teams. Why didn't you do that? Hey, how'd that make you feel? Not, hey, I saw this happen in the third quarter. You should have done it this way. What do you have to say about yourself? That's the type of questions Tony's going to ask in the press room. I already have my season tickets for the St. Joe's. Jim, I bought these season tickets for St. Joe's basketball. And when I saw the Jordan Hall news, I thought, these are worthless. Throw them out. They're worthless. But the return of Jordan Hall, I'm working to get my press pass. Going to email Nikki Philippot. You know Nikki very well, Jim.
Our friend.
I can't wait for St. Joe's season this year. I'm going to be at the A10 tournament with my press pass this year. I'm not going to get it revoked by the COVID police. I can't wait for St. Joe's basketball. And it's all because Jordan Hall didn't want to go to the NBA, because who knows what the draft pick scenario was there. And then instead of picking A&M, returned to St. Joe's. This was a pivotal moment for Coach Billy Lang. He not only stole a guy from the NBA, he stole him from an SEC team, got him to come back, and this might be the defining moment. Because without Jordan Hall, Billy Lang could have lost a ton this year. Eric Reynolds would have transferred out, and they would have fired him.
Yeah.
But now he's got Jordan Hall. Now they've got a winning chance. They've got Taylor Funk returning. They've got these other transfers coming in. They have Jack Forrest, Cameron Brown, Ramir Moore. Billy Lang has so many options. He can go small, he can go big, he can go hybrid, he can go shooting, he can go heavy defense. There's no excuse. This team's got to give other teams trouble. And there's going to be good teams that can outplay everything that Billy throws at them. But there are enough teams in this league that Billy has these diverse lineups that he can throw other teams that are slightly better than us off kilter, and we'll take them. We'll take them down. And I really think that Jordan Hall returning is just a centerpiece that this team needed, and I can't wait.
And I think that it'll give him a chance to develop a little bit further and actually become an NBA draft prospect, because I don't think he was ready.
Nothing wrong with getting drafted as a sophomore.
Yeah.
They'll take you as a sophomore, I promise. So
I saw that he went through the pre-draft process and he said he got feedback. So
they probably said you got to play another year.
Yeah,
he's got the height and he's got the shooting ability. He's just got to show it consistently.
And maybe the plan all along was that he would just go and see what it was like, and if it didn't fit, then he would just go back to St. Joe's and play for another year. Maybe that was his plan all along.
Well, look at Obi Toppin. Obi Toppin's playing minutes on the Knicks that were a playoff team. It's okay to be in college for 3 years.
In fact,
you'll get there. If you're that good, you'll get there.
That was the norm for a while.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm not opposed to the Sixers drafting guys like that, because you get these polished players who are just a little bit better, just a little bit nicer. When especially if you're going after guys who are going to fill your bench in, you want to go after the guys that are like that. But what do I know? Jim, quickly, Formula One. It's our last topic for tonight.
Hit me with it.
Okay, so usually in Formula One, what happens is on Fridays they do practices, on Saturdays they do qualifying, Sundays they race. What is qualifying, Jim might ask? Qualifying is when the teams go out, put the cars out on the track, and they do one fast lap. And your time on the fast lap dictates where you start on the starting grid, and then the next day you start the race. However, this year, they're taking away a practice session, and they're going to, this is only for one race this season, they're taking away a practice session, they're going to do a qualifying on Friday, so in 2 days, then they're going to do a sprint race on Saturday, which is like only 100 kilometers, which is only going to be like a 30-minute race, because the cars, they're averaging 170 miles an hour. And then the order of that race determines Sunday's order, and then they're going to race Sunday. It's different. It's new. Formula One ratings are the highest they've ever been in the United States. It is exploding. They doubled over the past year. People are tuning into Formula One, and Formula One may surpass NASCAR and IndyCar as the number one motorsport in the United States for viewership.
Wow, that's
would be
crazy.
Huge.
And you know what I heard actually on the way to this show tonight is the NBA finals have been, from pre-COVID numbers, 35% reduction in Nielsen rankings or whatever. So
people aren't even watching these ones right now.
People aren't watching the NBA finals the way that they used to, but they're watching
Formula One. But now Formula One, it's like 4 million viewers.
I think one of the things that COVID did was that people started watching things that
European sports.
They thought that maybe they would have watched before, but now they're like, oh, maybe I'll take it up because I had all this time to just go on YouTube and look back at old things.
And I think for Formula One, Netflix has that Drive to Survive series, and everyone's been watching it. And
Sure.
It's about Formula One, and that really helped them because they got to see the exciting sides, like clips, and that like kind of drew them in. And the qualifying is a ton of fun. It's only an hour long, and these cars go as fast as possible, and there's crashes, there's red flags, there's like stop the race. And it's like, well, does it over? Do we have to restart? They restart the race. There's always an accident. It's a lot of fun, and it's the best driving in the world. Formula One's the fastest car, so it's interesting. I ask everyone to go watch it. It's at Silverstone, the first track ever. It's where the first Formula One race was ever held in England, and Lewis Hamilton, who's won 6 championships in a row, Max Verstappen from Red Bull is beating Lewis Hamilton from Mercedes and may win a championship, which would be huge, and is another reason why people are tuning in. The 6-time champion might go down to this 23-year-old Dutchman, which is really exciting.
Oh, wow. Yeah, and I just watched IndyCar the other day for the first time in like
IndyCar's fun too. I like
probably in
IndyCar.
a couple of years, but I really like NASCAR. I'm a big NASCAR guy.
North Carolina kid.
Yeah. And then, but I do like Formula One, and you got the Le Mans coming up in
Yes,
August.
you do.
So, dude, is
motorsport the next thing?
It's at its all-time high.
Should we become a motorsport podcast? I love Formula One. I talk to tons of people about it all the time. It is so exciting.
15-minute episode once per week.
Yeah, just recapping races. I want to go to a Formula One because they're adding. Maybe you and me will go, Jim. They have the race in Austin, which they have every year, which they use to replace Indianapolis because they used to race at Indianapolis. But they're adding a Miami circuit, and next year there's going to be a race in Miami, which I think I'm going to go to.
Oh,
it's a street circuit.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, free. Go down to Miami for 5 days and just hang out and watch all the races. It's like only $200 for the whole weekend, which isn't that bad considering that it's 4 days of 3 hours each. Like, that's pretty good money. I mean, how much is a football game to go to? It's expensive.
Well, all sports are expensive. I just saw the World Championships for track and field next year in Oregon. They're like $90 to sit in like the upper decks.
Not 90s for is it a,
For
for
track
all the
and field.
for all the days though, or
For
is that
one day.
Ooh, that's expensive for one
And
day.
it might be like morning, afternoon. One day morning or one day afternoon.
Oh, and you have to clear out
Yeah.
for intermission. Oh yeah, I'll go in the morning.
Ridiculous.
I'll watch some qualifying event.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous. But did you watch the Euro Cup finals?
Tony.
Italy and what's it called?
Tony, talk about having my heart torn apart. I have my heritage playing the culture that I love. So I have England
you
versus Italy.
Appropriate my culture.
Because I've been studying Italian since I was like 14, you know? So it was like, it was tough. I was rooting for Italy up until they had to play England, and then...
It was a great game. That shootout was a ton of fun. Did you watch it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was playing D&D the entire game, and I always said before the game even started, maybe a couple weeks before, I was like, if England gets to the final and it goes to PKs, it's done. We're not going to win because we are cursed with PKs in finals. It just doesn't happen for us.
Wasn't there a few years ago England didn't make the World Cup? Or couldn't, there was something like, or they got bounced early or something like I remember it was just like a big point of contention that England was just not the team it should be.
Yeah.
This was like between, like when, this was like a few years after Rooney had like, you know, he wasn't playing anymore in
This was-
international.
Well, hold on. So 2018 was the last cup. It was probably 2010 or 2014.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds about right. Well, Jim, that does it. We ended on a little European action.
Who would have thought?
Yeah.
You never know where this show will go.
No. Well, we know where it will go because we write the script every week, but you, the viewer, you have no clue. Well, Jim, thanks for tuning in to today. Well, Jim, thanks. We're so out of it. There's no news. Me and Jim come in the studio once for the first time in a few months, and I'm already messing it up.
I love tuning in.
Jim, thanks for coming into the studio today to be on today's episode of Tony's Takes. Really do appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
And thank you to the viewer for listening in to Tony's Takes. We appreciate it, me and Jim. And if you're here for the first time, you're listening to us on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube. Double click the notification bell. That way you get notified every time we go live. If you already follow us on YouTube, then follow us on Apple Podcast not at Tony's_takes. Apple Podcast is Tony's Takes. You'll see the same logo you see on YouTube. Subscribe to us there. Leave a comment, 5-star review. We will read it out loud on the show. And finally, follow us on Twitter at Tony's_takes. You can DM us questions. You can email the mailbag, tonystakes.1851@gmail.com to send us questions. Guaranteed that they'll be read on the show. So that's all of them, and I really do appreciate everyone for listening in. Jim, thanks again.
Thanks, everybody.
You've been listening to Tony's Takes. We look forward to seeing everyone right here on YouTube for the next episode of Tony's Takes.
The premier sports talk radio, it's Tony's Takes.
Here we go.